everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Slimming Surgeon podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kandace Kichler. Today, I have a very beautiful and brilliant guest, Dr. Medina Culver. So Dr. Medina Culver is a board-certified family medicine physician with a focus on preventative and lifestyle medicine and clean, non-toxic living. She more recently stepped away from patient care to pursue being an entrepreneur. Dr. Culver has administrative roles within medicine and has found this very fulfilling as she's able to be a professor while starting a business. More specifically, building up other female women in business has been where she has found the most joy and emotional and mental success. And we're going to talk about all of this today. So welcome, Dr. Culver.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. Loved that intro. It's so good.
Well, it's easy to say nice, great things about nice, great people. So thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this is super exciting and a long time coming. I know we were just talking about how long we've quote unquote been like social media friends, and it's been years, like years.
Yeah, literally years. Like I feel like we both kind of like really got active on our accounts. Like it's like at least 5 years, but I think we're approaching 10, which is wild.
Oh, yeah. I think it's been at least, I feel like mine probably the last like 4 years has really skyrocketed, but yeah, easily 4 or 5 years. Hands down. But I've had Instagram since I was in med school, which is nuts when you think about it.
I know. I've had mine since residency, like early residency. So same. It's wild. Like I'm surprised it didn't go away. Like, what was it? MySpace?
Oh, MySpace was great. I have nothing but fond memories. We should bring it back. Like just
honestly, same. If I could bring back my account, like it would be a great laugh for everyone. Like I had music. I had.
Did you have the top 8? Do you remember the top 8 or whatever?
Of course.
That was scandalous, but I was here for all of it because I wanted to know what everyone's top 8 was. Or who.
Literally. And like you could see like who was a little bit crazy by how often they would change their top 8. Like,
that was like how you figured out if it was a red flag. You looked at how often they changed their top 8.
Exactly. I love it. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you all the things that everybody wants to know. You are very much, followed and a sensation, and like people want to know what's going on in your life. So we're just going to talk about it and talk about all the things that you're doing today.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Okay. So let's start just with like the very, very beginning. Like, why did you choose family medicine? Like what went into your decision to do that for your residency and to do that as your career initially?
Yeah. So I loved family medicine for a lot of reasons. I could do a little bit of everything. So I was someone that I didn't want to be stuck in, you have to be in clinic, you have to be in surgery at 6 a.m., you have to work Monday through Friday. I wanted to be able to have a lot of options in my career. And if I wanted to go clinical, I could do that. If I wanted to go admin, I could do that. But then also at the core, I could establish really great relationships with my patients. And all 3 of those aspects were super, super important for me when I was making my decision. I also knew I didn't want to go to residency for, 5-10 years. I said, this is yeah, like utmost respect. I was like, I know me and I like have got like 3 years of like some hardcore training in me. I can do it for 3 years, but I knew I couldn't do more. And so for me, that was also another deciding factor too.
Did you go straight from undergrad to med school to residency? Did you take any gap years or anything like that?
No, I didn't take any gap years because I also, going back to know me, I know that if I took a gap year, I don't know if I would go back. I'm someone that I would just be, it's like, okay, this is the goal. This was, what I wanted to do. So how do I make those, whatever I need to do to make that happen? And so, yeah, I went straight through. I did undergrad in 3.5 years. And so took, I guess you could say 6 months off, but that was you're interviewing for medical school during that time period. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. And then went straight through, got right into medical school, right into residency, and was done with everything by 29.
Nice. That's good. Yeah. Not a lot of people can say the same, which is fine. Like, I feel like everybody's journey is different, and the way you get there, like, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, you get to where you want to be. But, I know like yourself, I've like changed my career. I've done like some entrepreneurial things on the side. So how has like your role or your like identity as a doctor kind of changed through the years?
Yeah, I would say so. Initially when I got out, I was in private practice and it was your traditional family medicine, Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, also like some weekends call. Um, and it was pretty challenging. I think there was a lot of imposter syndrome in those first couple of years, but also a lot of really big wins. And then a lot of my life changed really, really quickly. And I learned very quickly how dirty the business of medicine can be. And then I had to ultimately leave that private practice and actually ended up joining one of the unions in Las Vegas as their medical director and lead physician, which was probably one of the more fulfilling several years in my career. But that was, during COVID and then post COVID, and energies really changed. And so for me, it was just a very different dynamic over the 5 years that I was in clinical practice for.
So when you say like the kind of like the dirty side of medicine, do you mean like business deals? Do you mean like with insurance companies? Like what kind of stuff are you referring to? Because I feel like I've probably had similar like situations, and it's like crazy that we go through this.
Yeah. So I guess, obviously not to, say anything that I shouldn't be saying, but for me, it was more the business aspect of it and the handshake partner deals and things that don't necessarily always pan out. And then the shaving of money off your paycheck for your partnership that doesn't actually exist. I would be probably the best way that I could say that. And probably over a year, I was scammed out about $40,000.
Yeah. I pretty much had almost like the same exact story.
That's
it's pretty crazy. Yeah. And that's like, I think something that I wanted to, talk about just gently, because a lot of us go into contracts and deals and like our first job, especially it's usually with somebody we know, maybe a mentor or somebody that we've trusted that honestly takes advantage of you. And, they're like, they think that you don't know any better, and to a certain degree and for a certain period of time, you don't. But when you realize that, it's like, wow, like that is so wrong. Like, don't do that to people. I hate that for you. I hate that for me. And it's like, word to the wise, look at everything with a fine tooth comb, like get an attorney very early, like get everything in writing, get reports regularly. Like, I think that's like critical if you're going to be in any type of contract with your job.
Oh, 100%. And I think you're so naive after, residency, yes, is really brutal and really tough in a lot of ways, but you're also so naive in so many ways still. And they don't teach you in residency what to look for in a contract, what to ask for when you're looking at P&L statements. They don't teach you any of that. And then you just inherently trust people and unfortunately, and hope to see the good in people. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but there has been enough people that have shown me that not everyone is a good person. And that was unfortunately my first experience in clinical medicine. And then I was going through my divorce at the same time. So it was weird times.
Oh my God. Well, you made it to the other side. So that is the great thing. But yeah, the other thing is like, you're also so busy. It's like, you think, oh, I'm going to like have time to read all these reports and dot the I's, cross the T's. But like, when you're grinding, especially when you're trying to build a business and a practice, it's really hard to do that. So it's almost like you need a second set of eyes to do all that for you, but it's worth it if you can.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I think nobody talks about that. So it's crazy that it happened to both of us in different fields of medicine, on different sides of the country. And it just goes to show you that people are going to probably try and take advantage of you 100%, especially right outside of your career, because you're desperate to make an income to pay off your student loans or whatever that might look like. And so you don't really necessarily check the way that you should.
Yeah. And you don't know what questions to ask too. Like that's the thing.
No
like,
idea.
I remember like having all these like meetings set up with these like executives and like professionals and like other physicians that were in these big groups. And like, they'd be like, do you have any more questions? And I'm like, no, like, gotta go.
I know. Cause I was like, I don't know what to ask.
Sign me up.
And like shady deals that you're like in on that you're like, this feels weird. Yeah. Is this normal? Like so much of that. Yeah. 100%.
Yikes. So look out for red flags, people. So moving past that, and we'll go back to like the relationship stuff too, because like people want to know about that, obviously. But like, what are some other like business ventures and things that you've been doing since then? Because I feel like it's really blossoming for you, and I want people to know what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Yeah. So I actually started like 6-7 years ago in the clean beauty space, and really taking a look at clean beauty and what that exactly meant, just from understanding endocrine disruptors, understanding ingredient lists, understanding FDA regulations versus EU regulations and all the differences there. And actually worked with Beauty Counter, who, was really one of the first clean beauty brands on the market. I worked with them actually starting in residency. And so I worked with them for 6 years, and very thankful for my time there and enjoyed it. Learned a lot what clean beauty meant, got to advocate in DC for safer laws. And, coming from, people expect as physicians that we're taught everything about clean beauty or clean ingredients, and we're taught none of it. At least I wasn't taught any of this. Was all things I was learning secondhand. And I was shocked, because I think as physicians or medical providers, we're the first line, and our patients expect, you'd at least have a general idea. And so many people don't. Even if you're a dermatologist, you might not have any idea what clean beauty even means. So
I think we're taught the opposite. I think we're taught like that chemicals on your skin are great, and to
throw some steroids on there. Steroids on, literally, and you'll be fine.
Right.
I know. It's
so
crazy.
so many of the dermatologic products are full of chemicals. Like, they're not clean at all.
And fillers and everything. And people are like, oh, it's medical grade and it's from a dermatologist. And not to bash dermatologists, but there is not proper education in clean products and understanding the ingredients in these products. And the
downstream effects of all of that. That's the thing. Yes. It's like, oh, it's just going on your skin. Like, no big deal. Like, oh, okay. Like,
that's the biggest organ in your body.
Yeah. Right.
No big deal. That's also the biggest organ in your body. So good luck. It's absolutely crazy. And so for me, I'm sure you see this, the rise, there was just an article the other day, the rise in cancers in young adults is huge. Right. Mm-hmm. And especially in women, the rise in breast cancer and the earlier like ages and the more aggressive types. And while I don't know everything,
Middleton, whatever's going on with her, she's early 40s. Like she shouldn't be having cancer. I mean,
no, exactly. Especially when you have the access to the best medical care, the best services, the best, of everything, the best of what life has to offer. And I think that one of the biggest things we don't look at as women is how many things we put on our bodies throughout the day, whether it's hair care, whether it's skincare, whether it's makeup, whether it's body products, any of those things, they all are going to add up. And if you think about over the years, how much we've put on our skin, it's pounds and pounds and pounds of toxic crap. And so that's been kind of my real passion for the last 6 years. And then I recently joined with a company that's been in Europe for the last 20 years that came over to the US. They haven't even been here for a year yet, and already the fastest growing skincare company ever in the history of the US. And what they've done is actually remove water as the first ingredient, which people that don't know, if you look at any of your products, whether they're safe or not, and water is listed as the first ingredient, it means that product's 80% water. So you're basically washing your money down the toilet. So that's been so that's been kind of over the last 7 months, and it's been skyrocketing. So it's been really fun.
Awesome. I love that for you. So with beauty, I mean, you worked with Beauty Counter for a while. And was it just kind of like, did you feel like it was time to step away and pivot, do something different? Did you feel like there was, something with maybe the way it was run that you felt like you needed to change? Like, because I feel like a lot of people worry when they're getting into businesses where it's almost like the MLM, but not, what to do, what to not do. Cause like for me, I have experience with Beauty Counter as well. And then now I go to Ulta and Sephora and I see it on the shelves, and it's like, I wonder how that's affecting the girls who started out and were selling it direct.
Yeah. And I can, speak on some of it, and it's
not to bash them, of course. Like,
no, the biggest thing, I mean, there was multiple reasons that I chose to pivot and to leave. And that was really done this fall. So it wasn't even, 6-7 months ago that I did it. But a lot of it was the community. The community had changed a lot. And for me, I can only be in a community that's healthy after being in a really toxic first marriage and a really toxic first job. And then ultimately a really toxic organization that I was in beneath Beauty Counter. I was like, I can't continue to surround myself with toxic energy and toxic relationships. And it's not bringing out the best in who I am. And I can't sit at the mean girls table, or I can't be excluded from the mean girls table anymore,
Right.
And So that was one of the biggest things was culture is so huge to me and so important. But the other thing too is, Beauty Counter did cut commissions. They chose to do that as they moved into Ulta, and people's paychecks were cut, almost in half or to a quarter, and then sold to a private equity firm. And, the rest is history that you can totally look up. But there were definitely changes that were made that were not for the benefit of the consultant, like you said. And so that's when that was probably 2 years ago. And I was like, this is not good, but it is what it is. And that's why when I joined Oliveda, I said, I want stock options. And that is one thing that they actually provide. And once you hit a certain level, you get 100,000 shares. And that was huge for me because I said, I'm not going to do this and put my time into it if I don't have part ownership anymore. So
that's incredible. That's a really good opportunity.
Yeah. Especially, and that's one of the things is like, it's a ground floor opportunity. Right. And so, I mean, Gigi Hadid did an unpaid endorsement in Vogue on us and on how she used it during her pregnancy. And that was one of the biggest things that helped us launch. And it's been nothing but up and up and up every single month. And you see the growth, but you also get to own part of that in so many ways. And for me, that was important. That was a big thing. That was a lesson I learned after my years in Beauty Counter and even with my years in private practice is I was like, I need ownership because if I'm going to bust my butt for this, I need ownership.
Yeah, I think that's something that we take for granted / don't realize, especially like myself. Like I don't come from a family of like entrepreneurs or wealth or anything. So all of this has been a learning experience for me as well. But yeah, after you're working and you work so hard, it's like you have to have something to show for it. It can't just be the paycheck and living from paycheck to paycheck. Like, no, it's got to be some ownership. It's got to be some role that you feel you have a long-term investment in and they're invested in you as well.
Yeah, 1000%. And I think that was the biggest thing is that I didn't know how to ask for that. I also didn't know I needed to ask for that. And I think we're not taught the skills to be able to ask for that. Especially, I think as women, you're just like, you're thought like, oh, you're fine. Just work and, we'll
be
build
happy with what you have. Be happy
Correct.
with what you have. I get sent, in the past I've been sent like, oh, this is the median salary. Like you should just be happy because you're like close to that. And it's like, excuse me.
Do you know what I always say?
I don't
like,
function as the median or the mean by any means.
Exactly. Like I am coming into this world exactly how I am. And it's definitely not in the median. I'll tell you that much. 1000%.
Exactly. Okay. So let's kind of dive into the relationship stuff because you talked about, your divorce and how traumatic that was for you. And I feel like a lot of us went through it with you on social media, which I feel bad for you because you shared it, but like it was good that you shared it because I think vulnerability and authenticity and relatability is what has helped you to build your brand. So
1000%. 1000%. I would, I would agree.
Was it hard to share in the moment?
Honestly, it was actually probably one of the biggest forms of therapy for me. And people think like, oh, thank you for sharing this. And in so many ways, social media can be a really toxic place, but also so I went through my divorce without family. A lot of my friends were, no longer there and I was very alone. So social media, besides my therapist, was like the place I shared things to feel like I wasn't the only one going through this, to feel like I wasn't the only one that was getting stiffed over financially by my ex, And so it created this really, it's almost like a trauma bond. I think 100% is what it is. Like it created this trauma bond, but I think in a lot of ways I'll flip that. And I'll also say that people looked at me and thought her life is perfect. There is absolutely nothing wrong with her life. She does not know struggle. She does not know anything. Her life is perfect. Everything's been given to her. And I'm sure you probably deal with the exact same assumptions that people make about you because of how you look or because of, whatever that might be. And I think that a lot of people in some ways also tuned in because they wanted to watch it, whether it was for healing or whether it was for a different, motivation. I will probably never know. But I think that was also part of it too. But I think it showed people that you can rebuild that. I mean, at 32, everything I owned, including my 2 golden retrievers, fit into my Jeep. And that was like all I had. And didn't have a home, didn't like lost half my retirement. Like you just don't have anything. And so that at that moment, that's when you really are like, okay, what actually matters? Mm-hmm. How do I want this next chapter of my life to go? And I think people do on the other sense, really like to know that you can lose a lot and still come out on the other side.
Yeah, I've talked about this with other guests on the podcast. It's like you see someone who's successful, whatever definition that may be, and everyone thinks that it just started at point A and went to Z in a straight, nice, smooth line. But so many of the people that are at that ultimate goal or at that peak or at that successful point in their life had to hit these super low lows to then bounce back up and get to where they are today. So the struggle is going to happen. It's just, and you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's what you did. It's the resiliency. It's the ability to get back up and keep going and like envision that there will be more for your life, that you have to keep going.
100%. And I totally believe in manifesting. And I know everyone has their own opinions on it, but I think that the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to me was my divorce. It made me change who I was. You know, it made me literally change my operating system and how I responded and heal childhood trauma and heal all of those things and be able to show up as a better woman in this next chapter of my life. And I've learned everything I learned from that experience, I've been able to carry over in so many different realms of my life that I think is probably one of the most important things. It's made me a better person. But if it didn't happen, I never would have gone to therapy. I never would have done any of those things. I would have been like, fine, just the way I am, but you have to have something happens that forces you to change. And that change usually alters your course. And usually it's what gets you to that next level of success.
Exactly. I know I've had, I was, bariatric surgery, and then I completely changed. I'm fully cosmetic plastic surgery now. And it's like, I had so many moments where I was like, is this going to be the right decision? Like, is this going to totally just screw my career? Like, am I going to, fail or flop at this? And it's like, no, best decision ever. Like, the will to succeed is there. You will succeed. And it may not be perfect at first, but it will work out.
I love that. What was that like when you switched? Did you have to do another?
It was terrifying. Yeah, I did. Yeah. My husband was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, this is how I look at it. It was like, if I don't do this, I 100% will regret it. Like, it was an opportunity that came to me at this moment where I felt like I was like at the top. Like, I was doing exactly what I wanted to be doing, where I wanted to be doing it. I was making great money. And it was like, I was happy. There was no unhappiness in what I was doing. But then, things knock on your door, and sometimes those knocks are bullshit. Sometimes they are real opportunities. And I just knew that this was a real opportunity. And it was like, in the back of my mind, I had always been asked like, oh, don't you want to do plastic surgery? Aren't you going to do my boobs one day? Like, just going through training and things like that. And I was always like, no, that's not what I'm doing. Like, I'm not plastic surgery. And then here I am, plastic surgery, it's really wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's kind of the manifesting thing, subconsciously it's just worked out that way. And it's not the traditional route. And I'm completely fine with that. But it also takes a certain type of person who could do things the non-conventional way, be successful with it, and be confident in that. And you're 100% the same way.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty amazing that you did that, to have to go to do it twice in terms of a fellowship. That's amazing. But you ultimately, I think it probably makes you just an even better person, a better surgeon, because you do realize, how much has changed. I think that's amazing.
I know, it's pretty crazy. It's wild up in here. Okay. So let's talk about social media. Like, talking to you, I don't feel like you're like this at all, but there are so many people who are such big influencers, and especially med influencers, and who spend so much of their day on their phone that when you talk to them in person, you're like, hello, anybody in there?
You're like, I'm checking if there's a personality, just really quick, curious.
Yeah. Like, there are people locally who are, very popular, famous, etc. And then I see them at an event and they can't even look up from their phone. Like, it's so bizarre. It's such a wild world that we live in.
You know, it's so crazy. And I think that's probably the nicest compliment that I've had. I've received it from you and then a couple other people who have met me, which I'm like, I'm still such a normal human and a normal individual. And I think that if you don't stay humble and you don't stay grounded, then you really do become really full of yourself. And at the end of the day, none of us get out of here alive. So there is literally no reason to be so full of yourself that you can't have a conversation with people. And that's, it's something I will always make sure to stay grounded. And I think it's, you know, my parents are both still alive and I was born and raised in Montana, and just a very different upbringing, I think, than a lot of people. And I'm thankful for that, because like, my parents don't even know what social media is, right? They're like, what are you doing? What's going on? Huh? So I love it.
No, maybe that's why I relate. I grew up in Alabama on a farm. My dad doesn't even have an iPhone. Like, he has like one with like buttons. Like, there's no social media.
No, there's barely even texting. Like, that is
my dad doesn't text. My mom is more savvy. She has an iPhone and she's on Facebook, and it's like, please don't post on Facebook, but it happens and it's fine.
My mom has an iPhone. I think it's like the iPhone 12. She's like, 11. It's like really far back. And I'm like, I don't even know what this does anymore, but she's all about it. But no social media at all. She's my CPA. So when I like talk to her about taxes and everything, I have to like show her what's going on. Yeah. She's like, wow.
Yeah. That's hilarious. No, but also back to that, like, being humble, like, I feel like that has carried me through everything. Cause it's like, I'm always grateful for every single opportunity, like every single person I come in contact with. Like, it's very easy to be like, oh, well, like, I'm a surgeon, like, you should respect me. But no, like, I'm a surgeon. I have a duty to operate on people. And that's a big deal. Like, I don't take that for granted, but there are a lot of people who do. And similarly with social media, it's like, okay, like, this shit could crash tomorrow and you will have nothing, you know, like, you need to be able to function out in society as well as on social media.
100%. Yeah. And I think that that's the big thing that you say is I applaud you, because there's so many surgeons out there who do have that God complex. I think it was like that word was created for surgeons, you know, and it's like that. I think that's amazing, because to be able to relate to people, that's huge. How else do you build trust? How else do you and my whole thing with everything that I'm doing on social media is all through trust. If you don't have trust and authenticity, you're out. You're not going to be successful.
Right. No one's going to buy from you. No one's going to commit, like, join the programs and things like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's definitely like, and that's where you see, like, you have a you have a big following. So like, this doesn't apply to you necessarily, but you still see, like, what we're seeing now trending is that smaller influencers with less followers make such great profit because their audience really trusts them, really knows them, like, really bonds with them. Like, you still have been able to maintain that, which is awesome. But it's like, it goes to show, like, the people with the smaller amounts, like, you can be successful with this stuff too, if you're real and you're out there and you're authentic.
1,000%. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, but it's called like micro influencers, I think. Is that what
I think so too. I think it's like up to 10,000 or something like that.
Yeah. They crush
They have like, yeah, exactly. They get more, like, they have more conversions and more sales and more, like, all the things, because the people trust them and they're like directly communicating with them. Like, they're able to handle their DMs and stuff like that. Do you 100%. Answer all of your DMs, or do you have someone help you?
I've never had anyone help me with my social media. So I do answer all of my DMs completely. I mean, unless they're creepy, and then those are blocked.
Yeah, right.
But I do answer all my DMs. Yeah, personally. And usually, it's usually a voice message sometimes.
I love that. I should start doing that.
Oh, it's so good.
I respond to mine all the time too. It is me. Yeah. Like, it is me, because people have suggested that I do otherwise. And to me, that just feels so weird and like fake. And I hate when I message people that I think are going to respond to me and I get like a template. I'm like, okay, you know, and then maybe they respond a couple days later. Like, that's the worst thing ever. It just kills the vibe completely.
It is true. It is very, very true on that. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just kind of to get to that, like what you're doing now, how much of it is on social media? Like how much of your life or your career right now depends on like, I guess, social media?
Social media, I would say probably 100%.
Yeah.
I would say easily 100%. I saw what I built and I knew what I built and I knew the sacrifices that went into it, but I also knew how I built it. And we talked about that authenticity and that trust already. And so for me, I was like, how do I make this into a business that can be really beneficial, not only financially, but also with my time? Deciding to step away from clinical medicine was a big decision. And it was not a decision I made lightly, but it was a decision that I made that was the best for me, because I was sick of asking people, my boss, if I, wanted to take a day off. Oh, no, can't do that. I was sick. Like I needed autonomy in my life. Mm-hmm. And I knew that my passion is always going to be medicine. Medicine is always my passion, but was it bringing me joy? Not necessarily. And I think that is where the difference was. And so I took a leap and invested in myself. And 5 months ago, I told my husband, I said, okay, I need just 5 months. I can build this into a 6-figure business. I know I can, because of the products, because of the culture, because of the community, and because I'm getting it at ground floor. I know 100% I can do this. And he was like, okay. And so I did it, and here we are. And it's been a really wild roller coaster, but it's also allowed me to travel more than I ever have, and to actually go see my family, and to take a day off if I need to, and to really, spend time with people that I actually really care about. Because I think for me, that was something that I was missing so much in life, is I was so go, and so much of this hustle that I was like, how do I work smarter, not harder? If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think that what you're saying is extremely motivating. And I think it's inspiring for people, especially like some of my listeners are medical school residents, like whatever. I have a total blend of listeners. Some of it's my patients. But for me, I think it really resonates, because you don't need to do what everyone has always told you should do. We go into medicine and it's like, oh, you need to do this at this point, by this point, pass this test, make this board certification, become this doctor, and do that for the rest of your life and be happy with it. And that is like far from what you should do if you're not called to. Like, if you have desires to do other things with your life, do them. For me, medicine and like what I do as a surgeon is like one part of my life. It is not my life. Like it is.
No, it's like a facet of who you are. It's
exactly
part of you, but it's not like all of you.
And not at all. I go home and I'm a mom. I'm a wife. Like I love to work out. I love to go shopping. And honestly, there's some days when those things take over way more of my priority than what's going on at work. And that's okay. Like that is normal. That's like having balance to some degree. None of us will ever have perfect balance. Like that's also reality, but you shouldn't stick with a career just because you did all these things to get there. Like who cares? You could die tomorrow. And if you're unhappy, then like, what's the point?
100%. And that was a big thing, is I was like, maybe I'll go back to clinical medicine. And that's why, like, being a professor, I actually am a professor at the medical school that was started in Montana. And I've enjoyed doing that. I do that part-time, and I get to travel there, see my family, and then I get to teach. And for me, that's a passion, and I really enjoy that. But I was like, how can I make people healthy? That's not just through big pharma. That's not just through this other realm. How do I make people healthy, and how do I help support their health in a different way? So for me, it wasn't traditional. I wasn't leaving medicine. I was just changing the medicine I was giving, I guess you could say, and the advice I was giving, because there was so much more I wanted to do from a preventative standpoint that I wasn't really able to do in the traditional family care aspect.
Yeah, it's a really interesting and positive like pivoting that you did. And I think like that's also something that people can see, like that you're very passionate about it, because it's like because of your background.
Yeah. I think, and it's been really good. I've said that now 78 times probably. But it's been really good.
I know after this episode, you're going to have like 1 million people want to sign up and like do what you're doing. So yay. Okay. So let's talk kind of about that. Like, so skincare, aesthetics, like what are you loving right now? What have you tried that hasn't worked? Like, I don't want to take like we've got a little bit of time. I don't want to like, take your time forever, but like, just tell me about that world now, like in your brain, what you're thinking and loving.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to start with what I was using. So I'm 35, full transparency, and I was using all clean skincare brands, and stem cells actually on my skin. And for years, and was still having to get Dysport injections every 3 months. Like I'm 35. I don't know why, I'm very expression in my face. And so I was like, I'm very active in my face, and I was a rapid metabolizer. I was like, great, this is amazing. The time you don't want to be a rapid metabolizer. And so I was doing all those things. And my skin was getting like worse. It was not doing didn't have acne, but it was just like, things just weren't good. And so I actually have fully switched over. So I don't know if you're familiar with it. I wasn't, but there is an antioxidant called hydroxytyrosol that is actually made from the leaves of olive trees. And it's the most powerful antioxidant in the world that they've found so far. So they, meaning Oliveda, actually use that antioxidant as the first ingredient of every single one of their products, which if you go and look at before and afters from Oliveda, it's insanity. Like it literally looks like people have a perma-hydrofacial or this permanent like glow filter on. It's crazy.
You look like that right now. And I'm like, can you just send me?
I have no makeup on. Like, none.
What? You look perfect. And you do not look 35 also.
I have no makeup on, and my last injections were 8 months ago. And so it truly is insane. And like you learn about Paracrest, and Paracrest is like a topical muscle paralyzer. And that's in some of our products. So we have like topical Botox serums that actually work. But when you think about it, and it's like, people are probably like, girl, we get it. You use Oliveda. But it's like, when you think about it, if I looked at Skin Better, Summer Fridays, Beauty Counter, all those products I was using before, La Mer even, I know it's not great for you, but I was like, I need anything. LMS. If you look at any of those, water is the first ingredient in every single product. And so you're like, it makes sense why my serum that I'm paying $98 for is not performing, because I'm putting water on my face and expecting it to tighten and stop the wrinkles and help. The cool thing too is that they have ingestible as well, because we think about it this way too. Your skin is a reflection of what's happening inside. So the reason I really felt aligned with Oliveda and still do is that there is this idea of healing yourself from the inside out. And if we heal your inside, it will also help reflect in, the best face that you put forward. So that's all I exclusively use. And it's been amazing. But yeah, I like barely wear face makeup ever. And I walked into the Four Seasons the other day, and we were on vacation, and the lady at the spa, she was like, oh, she was like, the glow on your skin. And I was like, thank you. It's like some third-party validation, but yeah, it's amazing. It's truly it's unreal, and there's nothing like it. And there's a reason that it's growing at the rate that it is. And estheticians are joining. It's just, I can't keep up, which is a great problem to have. I'll take that problem every day.
No, seriously. I'm literally going to try this. This is exciting. I try everything. So, because I want to know,
let me know, because I can totally think we can send you some things.
Yeah. We're going to link for the specific details, but I also like to know what people are doing. I like to try what people are doing, because I want to know if it works and how it works. But then also, like, if I have a patient who's taking this, like, I want to know why, or what they're doing, or how it affects other things that I may be doing for them. So no, this is really interesting. And it's definitely newer technology and newer science that I'm not aware of, but things change every single day.
Oh, every single day. And the cool thing I love is all of the products are made in Europe. So they all follow EU guidelines. And so if you're not familiar with EU guidelines, that is definitely something I would look up to anyone listening, because there is a huge difference between EU and FDA.
It's crazy. I think we all kind of know where we're going with that, but
we won't take that.
We won't go there. Okay, this is amazing. Obviously, everyone's going to look you up and start like following and understand more about this brand. But like, just two more questions. Like, what are some things, or like, what are things that are bringing you joy these days? Like, I feel like we've touched on it some, but like, being not in the clinical setting obviously has helped, but like, what are some things that are you loving, and what's your like wellness tips?
I think probably the biggest thing, I love Pilates. That's one of my favorite things is staying active. Like for me, exercise is therapy. So being able to, I never was able to do the 9 a.m. Pilates class or the 10 a.m. Pilates class. And that brings me joy. Sleeping in, not setting an alarm, it gives me joy. Being able to take my dogs for an hour and a half walk, it gives me joy. And being able to spend time with my husband and just travel if someone needs me, or go see my family. Or this world is so nasty at times. And I think that our circles get smaller and smaller as we get older, and we don't get to give those people our time because we're always hustling to somewhere. And for the first time in my 35 years of life, I feel like I get to actually be really present in people's lives that I care about and make time for people. Whereas before I was never able to.
Yeah, it's really sad because that is exactly what we are trained and thought to believe, is that you just have to work and work and work and work and never enjoy anything until you're retired. And it's like, when you're retired, you're tired,
Yeah.
You're tired. You can't do all these things. Like, those relationships have fizzled out. The family members, some of them have passed away, and it's like, you need to spend time in the now and find what's going to make you happy. And so I like applaud you like to the moon for being able to do that at such a young age too, and to recognize that.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's been great. And I think that, we're not guaranteed to make it to retirement. That's what I always say, is like, I get saving. I understand it all. I do. And trust me, my mom's a CPA. She beats it into me. But I also am of this belief that there's no guarantee you get to make it to retirement age.
Buy the shoes.
Exactly. Always buy the bag, buy the shoes.
We can definitely relate with that. Yes. Okay. Amazing. Well, I think that kind of wraps up everything that I wanted to go over with people, to introduce like what you're doing, highlight like this, and just talk about how you can be, you can be a physician and you can be a normal, amazing, functioning, happy person, because we don't always see that. And you can also be real.
100%. I think you can, you don't have to be a robot. You don't have to do what everyone says, and you can just be yourself in a really, really cool way.
I love it. I love it. So Medina, tell everybody where they can find you and maybe find out more information from you.
Yes. So my main Instagram is Dr. Culver. So it's just DR and then CULVER. I do have a smaller beauty page attached there, so you can also follow that. And that's just all little tips and tricks and different product explanations, etc. But send me a DM if you want a regimen. I do write up custom regimens using my medical background and my Ayurveda knowledge. So it's been a really cool way to really blend it all together for everybody. So come on over.
Very excited. I can't wait to try the products. And I just appreciate you so much for coming on and doing this. Again, it's going to be like really great for both of us, especially your business. I'm excited for you.
This was amazing, Kandace. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, leave me 5-star reviews with 5 stars only, just like always. And we will chat with you guys next week. Thank you. All right, I'm ending it. Okay, thank you so much, girl. Seriously,
that was amazing. Yes, if you want,
and I really do want to try. Yes, literally.
Please, I'm happy to do it. I will. I'll reach out to our VP and see if we can get you a PR box. So I will be in touch, and then we can get you some goodies. I would love that. I would, and I'd love your opinion. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be awesome. Especially
I mean.
Dude, it's not even Miami. It hasn't even really taken off yet there. So it's still really, really brand new.
Yeah, that could be really good. So, okay. Yay. Excited. Awesome.
We'll be in touch. I'll reach out right now and see what we can do. Okay.
All right. Amazing. Have a great rest of your day and rest of your week.
You too. Thanks so much.
Right.